So what I wanted to talk about today was the PDA, or Professional Development Assignment. We don't really call it a sabbatical. That's what I always called it in the past. I think the idea that it's an assignment means, or it implies that there's additional work involved. So the purpose is really just to encourage us as faculty members to continue our professional growth as scholars and teachers. Feel free to ask questions as I go through this. There's an application, and in order to apply, you have to be tenured faculty. And tenured faculty can apply for a PDA for 1 semester at full pay or an academic year at half pay. And there are some obligations that come with this, and I'll cover those in a couple of minutes. You apply in the fall semester of the year prior to when you anticipate your assignment. So you would apply for this for next fall, the next academic year. Your application would have had to been in November 1st of 2020. So by November 1st, you have to submit the application. And it's, when you're approved, you cannot change the semester after that approval has been granted. So you might ask, how do you apply? And I'm going to take you right into the application form. You can find it on the College of Education Faculty Resources webpage. And it's going to be, it says professional development, I think assignment, but a professional development assignment on the Faculty Resources webpage. There'll be a policy. In that policy, there are 2 links within that policy statement that will take you directly to the application. It is a Qualtrics form. So in that sense, there are limits on how many words you can enter into some of the fields, but I'm going to take you into it so you can see right now. It's pretty simple, it's pretty basic, and then I'll cover some of the other material about it. Are you able to see that?
Yes.
Okay. Sometimes I'll put it up and I'm not sure.
Oh, I'm just seeing your PDF. I'm not seeing the website yet.
Okay, I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to go back into the website. Otherwise, I don't think it's going to work. How's that?
Yes.
Yay.
Good job.
Oh, I've been having challenges with Zoom and my computer in the past, since Friday. So the basic portion of the application, this is what it'll explain. It again refers you back to the proposal requirements, and that's on the College of Education website. You do need to put in your university ID, your email address, your first and last name, pretty straightforward. There's a drop box to indicate when, which academic year you're considering applying for. I'll have to update that to add in more time. And because you're applying for if you're applying for the fall semester or a spring semester, the academic year, you want to identify what time frame. So pretty simple in terms of a pick list. Then in this box, you'd include a 2 or 3 page proposal. Basically, I would cut and paste that and put it in afterwards. And an abbreviated CV, not your entire University of Memphis CV, but an abbreviated thing. And it only accepts a Word document. So it's unfortunate, but that's the case. It's one of the limitations of using this system. And then you can cut and paste your memo of support, but really if you have a letter, the memo of support needs to be on letterhead from your department chair. So for leadership, Dr. Platt or Dr. Nichols in ICL or Dr. West from CPR. And the reason that it needs to be on letterhead is that actually in this process, your application's reviewed, it is forwarded to the dean. The dean writes a letter, a recommendation that also goes to the provost, and inevitably it's the provost's office that makes the final decision about being awarded a PDA. And then you'll just click on that and it's submitted. So it's in terms of steps in the application, it's not overly complex. Let me go back to this. Again, you can find it on the College of Education Faculty Resources webpage. So some of the things that you need to remember to include is that brief plan for the work that you intend to complete during the assignment. And part of that is, how are you going to tangibly, what are the tangibles or the outcomes of that? So you describe that in this expected benefit to the university, to you as a faculty member, the department, the college. And when you're looking at that proposal or the policy, it's going to talk about the vision, mission, and values of our college. So you want to incorporate that. Again, that brief CV and then the memo of support from your department chair. It's fairly straightforward. The obligations, and people don't think about it, but there are obligations when you get a professional development assignment. The first is that if you accept one and you're awarded one, you agree to remain at the university for at least one full academic year after the assignment's completed. And then after 3 months, when that leave period ends, you're to submit a report to the dean's representative. At this point, it's me, describing the accomplishments or benefits of the leave. And once you've been on a PDA, you can't have another one for another 7 years unless, I can't remember really why this clause is here. I think we borrowed this from College of Arts and Sciences, that you apply after 5 years following another proposal, but then you're agreeing to spend a full year on the assignment at half pay. So you can't get that full semester or one semester with full pay if you apply earlier than 7 years. So all applications have to go through that Qualtrics process by November 1st. They're reviewed in the process of forming a committee to do reviews. So there'll be a person from departmental representation and the dean's representative. Recommendations are forwarded to the dean. She submits the PDA request to the provost, and then the provost makes that decision during the spring semester. Now, I think this year, I don't think he was making those until February or later in February. It was just behind and because of the nature of the pandemic and the year that we've had. So that's the brief update on how you apply for a professional development assignment. I am open for questions. The doctor's in.
I guess the only question I would have was like, so how many people apply for these and how many people actually get them?
Okay, so far, so two have, since I've written the policy, two have actually completed their PDAs and two others have been awarded one semester PDAs, and we had one other person, I think, that was going to apply, didn't apply within the time frame. So 4 people have been awarded. So next year, we have 2 people out on professional development assignments. So you're really applying, if you were applying in the next cycle, by November 1st, you'd go in and you do your application. You'd be applying for the academic year for 2022-2023. So far, no one that has applied has been denied. Everybody has been granted their PDA, although we have gone back to people and said you have to provide a little bit more of what tangible thing is going to occur as a result of this. So I think that's the difference between the idea of a sabbatical and professional development assignment. Sabbatical just seems like maybe people are looking at it as something where work isn't quite as involved. And I think professional development assignment just implies that there is work and some type of tangible outcome.
So are there any limits on what it is you can or can't do during these? So, and particularly, like if you have an opportunity to be detailed or, spend, time at maybe like a federal agency as a fellow or something that comes with a salary, does that, does that, are there any implications to that or?
There are when you're looking at so that I think would be acceptable. I think in the policy, and I'd have to go back to the pages where it talks about, because we haven't had anybody do that yet, but it does talk about looking for alternative funding. So in a faculty member on a full year PDA with external grant support can draw up to 50% of the funds on the grant. If you're awarded a professional descent. That's actually all that I really see. If you're anticipating financial support from an external agency, you should discuss that with your chair prior to submitting the proposal. And this would include support from other institutions. So you have to just include that, but I'm not exactly sure how to tell you that it would be evaluated. I know that they're encouraging people to seek additional funding during their leave time. So it is acceptable. It's just a matter of how that's worked out. But you'd need to talk about that with Dr. Platt. And because I haven't had anybody do that to date, I'll have to look at how that occurs. So that would be something I'll need to get more information. But what you're talking about, working for a federal agency, I would think that would apply. Something that wouldn't apply necessarily is if you wanted to change, it's a departmental initiative and you wanted to change your, for example, the EDD to a PhD. I'm not sure that they would grant a professional development assignment to do that. I don't think that would be the case, but it's something I could always look into. My initial response is that wouldn't be something they'd consider because it'd be a departmental initiative. We really are trying to help you grow as a faculty member. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's the explanation.
Oh yeah, perfect sense.
Okay, and the one question that I had is when you're on a PDA, is there any opportunity for collaboration and also mentoring, or is that when you come back?
Well, so I don't know about the opportunity for mentoring because you are basically taking this time to go work on your activity. And I think that's part of how you develop your PDA. So if you're going to work on in a federal agency, for example, using Dr. Griswold's example, and there's mentoring that's involved with that, and you're developing new skills that are acquired through that, and it's consistent, there's that mentoring that's there that's built into the process, and that's part of your PDA. In the sense of an opportunity for collaboration, so we have had people that have gone to do a fellowship at a different university. So I mean, there is collaboration in that sense, but I'm not sure if I would be able to define it more narrowly than that. I'd actually have to look at your application.
Okay, well, thank you so much for clarifying.
I'm not sure I really did, but you're welcome. Are there,
So are you completely free from all of your, teaching and service obligations while you're on a PDA? So it's like, will people
yes.
completely leave you alone? And it's okay to tell people no?
Yes, and here's what happens. Your departmental chair has to talk and identify which courses are going to be that you will not be providing, you won't be teaching, and how that's going to apply. Now, again, for me, one of the things I would look at is it's not necessarily always a matter of the coursework, given the number of doctoral students that you're advising and sharing. But technically, they're supposed to have a plan on how that, and that's why you have to have your chair's agreement and endorsement of your plan, is how they're going to address this time when you're not available. I have seen some people that have periodically, like one person was on a PDA, somebody was completing their dissertation defense, they came back in for the defense, but they weren't very active in the committee process during that time. but I think that might have been also their option. So, but you'd have to agree, you'd have to have that discussion with Dr. Platt, Dr. Nichols, Dr. West. Here are the courses that I'm normally teaching during this semester or during this academic year. Here's what I want to do. And then the department, because the departments have funds, the departments have carryover funds, they are able to make that decision about how they're going to cover that course or those courses and your work. But the idea of a PDA is you're taking off, and that I think is more consistent with the sabbatical. You're not available. Normally I see people that they are on a professional development assignment and they're not available. It'll be a post that I normally see on somebody's email, and you try and email and bounces back. Do you have any other questions at all? I know there were other people interested, but they were looking at me sending them or providing the link because they weren't able to attend at the time. If you do have questions at any time, always feel free to ask. I'm more than happy to answer. Or if you want to float an idea and say whether or not would this be considered, I will let you know. And if I don't have an answer of whether or not it'd be considered, I will ask people to make sure that it could be considered. So you're not just doing an application for somebody to say, I want you to be successful when you apply. I mean, that's my goal, is trying to help people become more successful and encourage that growth. If you don't have any other questions, then thank you for attending. Thank you for taking part of your day. I know for Dr. White, it's between classes, and for me, it's between meetings. And Wendy, I'm sure it is for you as well.
Yep. 10 meetings today.
Yeah, it's.
Well, thank you again, Dr. Zankis, and I will talk to you guys again soon.
Okay.
Yeah,
Looking forward to the next PD. All right.
Bye-bye.